Life rarely announces itself before it changes us. Often, transformation comes softly, hidden within an ordinary morning, a familiar routine, or a simple glance exchanged across a room. That subtlety is what made this story resonate so profoundly with viewers. On one hand, people tuned in expecting the usual warmth, humor, and light-hearted energy they had grown accustomed to from Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. On the other, they found themselves witnesses to something deeply intimate. A woman holding back tears beside the man she loves, confronted by the weight of uncertainty. There was no performance, no preparation, just life quietly revealing its power to shift everything. It was a reminder that even the most solid foundations, built over decades, are touched by fragility, and that resilience is often measured not in perfection, but in presence. Seeing Mark beyond the spotlight. Mark Consuelos has long been viewed by audiences as a symbol of strength, charm, and unwavering confidence. He is the steady partner, the confident on-screen presence, the man who appears almost unshakable. But behind the lights, applause, and carefully framed shots is someone profoundly human. A husband, a father, a person carrying the unseen weight of responsibility, fear, and vulnerability. That contrast made the moment so striking. Seeing a man known for composure confronted with his own uncertainty reminded viewers that strength does not make anyone immune to life's challenges. In fact, it often masks the quiet struggles being lived in silence until reality can no longer be postponed. Whispers. Before reality. Before a challenge becomes visible, it often arrives as whispers. A pause in routine, a glance that lingers a moment too long, a subtle shift in energy. These early signs may not trigger alarms, but they carry meaning for those paying attention. In the case of Kelly and Mark, the quiet signals eventually transformed into recognition. There was no need to share specifics publicly. The reality was clear through their expressions, their shared presence, and the intimacy of the moment. Curiosity faded, replaced by empathy, as viewers understood that what they were seeing was not a narrative to be dissected, but a human life navigating a significant change. The weight of public life. Receiving difficult news is challenging in any context, but to do so under the constant gaze of the public adds an entirely different dimension. Privacy becomes fluid, emotions are amplified, and vulnerability is on display. Yet Kelly and Mark met that exposure with honesty rather than retreat. The cameras captured not a performance, but a pause, a breath, a moment where humanity outweighed expectation. It was a vulnerability that resonated precisely because it was real, unfiltered, and reflective of the way life intervenes in our routines, no matter how carefully we plan or perform. Tears as a language of love. When Kelly allowed herself to cry, it was not a sign of weakness. It was the expression of love in its most immediate and unguarded form. Watching a partner confronted with uncertainty makes the future feel fragile, almost tangible, and the instinctive grief for what may change becomes impossible to hide. Her tears spoke volumes, communicating fear, courage, and devotion all at once. The audience did not see a television host faltering. They witnessed a partner processing the full weight of a life-altering moment alongside the person she cherishes. That authenticity transformed the screen into a mirror of shared human experience, showing how love can reveal itself in emotion rather than words. Understanding a life-altering diagnosis. A life-altering diagnosis need not be spelled out in clinical detail to carry meaning. Its gravity is felt in the shift it imposes on daily life, the reordering of priorities, the recalibration of time, the sudden attention to moments that were once ordinary. For Mark, it meant confronting limitations and challenges he may not have previously imagined. For Kelly, it meant learning to balance support with her own emotional reality. Together, it became less about the specifics of the situation and more about navigating a shared human experience. recognizing that the future is not guaranteed and that love, care, and attention become the most essential anchors when certainty disappears. Walking through uncertainty together. No one faces life-altering moments alone, and navigating the unknown transforms the bonds of partnership in unexpected ways. For Kelly and Mark, this period highlighted the profound depth of their connection. It was no longer about individual heroism or self-reliance. It became about shared endurance, quiet communication, and the unspoken understanding that each day is met together. In the ordinary moments, sitting in silence, holding hands, sharing a look of reassurance, the strength of their relationship revealed itself. Love was measured not in grand gestures, but in the commitment to show up over and over for one another, even when the path ahead seemed uncertain. A broadcast unlike any other. When this chapter of their life touched the screen, the difference was immediately apparent. The familiar rhythm of morning television shifted. Humor and banter softened, replaced by sincerity and reflection. Kelly's voice, usually polished and animated, carried the weight of someone balancing professionalism with vulnerability. Viewers understood they were not witnessing a rehearsed narrative, but a moment of lived truth. There were no dramatic announcements, no sensationalized reporting, just presence. The power of that presence, quiet yet palpable, reminded audiences that sometimes what matters most cannot be scripted or staged. Redefining strength, especially in public life, is often imagined as invulnerability, the ability to maintain momentum without pause, to never falter. Yet in this moment, Kelly and Mark illustrated a different vision of resilience. True strength, they showed, can mean pausing, acknowledging fear, and leaning on the people who love you. It is measured not in the absence of difficulty, but in the courage to meet it honestly and intentionally. That quiet demonstration challenged the notion that we must always appear unshakable, offering a more human, attainable perspective on what it means to endure. Turning fear into awareness, the emotional resonance of their moment extended beyond empathy. For many viewers, it prompted reflection on their own lives, health, and relationships. Witnessing Kelly and Mark confront uncertainty encouraged awareness and proactive care. Vulnerability became a tool for advocacy, not in words but in action. By showing that acknowledging fear is not weakness, they provided a model for mindfulness and responsibility that rippled outward, inspiring audiences to pay closer attention to themselves and those they love. The invisible labor of care. Underlying the moment was the often overlooked work of caregiving. Kelly's role, both seen and unseen, highlighted the emotional labor required to support someone navigating uncertainty. Caregiving is not simply providing for needs. It is maintaining emotional equilibrium, holding space for fear and hope simultaneously, and being present even when one is personally exhausted. Her honesty illuminated the invisible, validating the countless partners who shoulder similar responsibilities quietly, with grace, and without recognition. It was a testament to how love and devotion manifest in daily acts of presence and support. A shift toward healing. As time progressed, the focus moved from the initial shock of the moment to the process of healing and adaptation. Recovery, adjustment, and acceptance rarely follow a straight path. For Mark, part of the journey involved redefining his sense of self in the face of limitations. For Kelly, it meant supporting him while managing her own emotional responses. Together, they approached the process with openness, patience, and a willingness to rely on each other, redefining resilience as a shared, evolving experience rather than an individual conquest. Emotional and spiritual reckoning. Beyond the practical realities of health and routine, the experience prompted deeper reflection. Moments of silence and ordinary time together became infused with meaning. Priorities shifted naturally, emphasizing connection, presence, and the value of shared experiences over productivity or performance. This chapter of life revealed a simple truth. When certainty fades, what endures is not the routine or the accolades, but the people who stand beside you, offering consistency, compassion, and unwavering attention. Honesty that softens the spotlight. The couple's approach to sharing this moment with the public changed the tone of the narrative entirely. Rather than leaving space for speculation or sensationalism, their honesty transformed potential curiosity into understanding and care. By simply acknowledging the reality without embellishment, they guided the conversation toward empathy rather than drama. In doing so, they demonstrated that transparency in the face of challenge can reshape public perception, showing audiences that courage often exists in the calm, truthful expression of human experience. The legacy of vulnerable strength. Remaining united when life grows uncertain requires patience, adaptability, and courage. Kelly and Mark's story during this period provides a quiet blueprint. It illustrates that true partnership is defined not by avoiding hardship, but by facing it together, openly and with love. Their willingness to be changed by difficulty while continuing to choose hope and connection reflects a strength that is quietly revolutionary. They remind us that resilience is not about perfection, but about embracing life's fragility while remaining present and committed to the people we love. Lessons for everyone. For viewers, the moment offered more than insight into the lives of two celebrities. It offered reflection on universal experiences. It underscored the importance of listening to loved ones, acknowledging vulnerability, and appreciating the fragility of time and health. It encouraged audiences to consider their own relationships and the small ways in which love, presence, and attention sustain them. In witnessing Kelly and Mark navigate uncertainty, people saw a mirror for their own lives and a reminder that courage can exist quietly in everyday acts. Moving forward with presence. Though uncertainty remains part of life, the narrative now centers on presence, gratitude, and intention rather than fear. Kelly and Mark's story shows that even amid challenges, people can choose to focus on what matters most: shared time, connection, and the simple sustaining acts of care. Their journey encourages others to embrace vulnerability, lean on one another, and recognize that hope is not the absence of difficulty, but the choice to face it together. A love that continues to grow. What began decades ago on a television set has evolved into something enduring, deep, and profoundly human. Kelly and Mark demonstrate that love matures not through avoidance of challenge, but through navigating hardship with honesty, patience, and humor. Laughter persists even in difficult moments, and their bond grows stronger through shared reflection and support. Theirs is a story of resilience, not performance, a testament to the quiet, transformative power of enduring love. The takeaway for all of us. Ultimately, this moment was not about crisis or spectacle. It was about life in its complexity, arriving gently but insistently, and being met with honesty, compassion, and love. Kelly and Mark reminded viewers that even those who appear strong, composed, and joyful can be vulnerable, and that true partnership is measured by presence, attentiveness, and shared courage. In their vulnerability, millions found recognition, empathy, and a model for navigating life's uncertainties. Their story stands as a reminder that the most powerful moments are often quiet, and that love, when grounded in honesty and resilience, can illuminate even the most difficult of days.